Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, unable to move, unable to speak. Your body feels like it's chained to the bed. You sense a presence, something watching you, pressing down on your chest. It's not a dream, but it's not quite reality either. This is sleep paralysis, a mysterious phenomenon that's haunted people for centuries. But what is it really? And why is it so terrifying? Sleep paralysis occurs when your mind wakes up, but your body doesn't. It happens during the transition between wakefulness and REM sleep, the stage where we dream vividly. During REM, your brain paralyzes your muscles to prevent you from acting out your dreams. But sometimes this system glitches. You become conscious when your body remains in a paralyzed state. To understand why, let's look at the science. In REM sleep, your brain releases neurotransmitters like serotonin and acetylcholine to keep your muscles immobile. If you wake up before this paralysis lifts, you're trapped, aware but unable to move. Studies suggest 8 to 20% of people experience sleep paralysis at least once in their lives, with some facing it regularly. That was me when I was 16. Every night, no shit. Every time I went to sleep, every time, even if I took a nap in the middle of the day, it happened. It was like I got so used to it that I would expect it. It was almost like a familiar thing that I was so used to. I remember one time I got really high when I was 16, and I fell asleep on my bed at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I remember as I was falling asleep, knowing that I was going to meet this entity as soon as I fell asleep. And the second I did, I heard it creeping down the hall. It was like this darkness that a presence. I knew it was down the hall. Outside my door to my room was open, and I could sense it coming, creeping through the hall, slowly to get to me. And I felt it getting closer and closer. And my head was not towards the door, it was towards the ceiling, and my body was completely paralyzed. And I heard it creep down the hall, creep into my room, and then creep on top of me. And it always did some rapey stuff with me. It was so weird. But it's not just about being stuck. Many report hallucinations, vivid, often terrifying visions or sounds, a shadowy figure, a voice whispering, or a crushing weight on your chest. These aren't random. They're tied to how our brains interprets fear and stress in this vulnerable state. Sleep paralysis isn't new. For centuries, cultures around the world have described it in similar ways. In medieval Europe, it was the old hag sitting on your chest. In Japan, it's the kanashabari, a spirit binding you in place. In ancient Mesopotamia, it was linked to demonic forces like Lilitu. These stories shows how universal this is and how it taps into our most haunting fears. Today, we know these experiences aren't supernatural, but the brain's way of filling in the blanks. When you're paralyzed and scared, your amygdala, the fear center, kicks into overdrive, creating visions of intruders or monsters. Okay, so science says that this isn't supernatural, but how the hell do they know that? Right? How do cultures from all around the world, universally since medieval times and before, how do they all say this the same exact way? Explain the same dark, shadowy figure that is literal. It has a demonic presence to it. I've experienced it many times. It genuinely, there are demons, it is what a demon is.
People think that their demonic presence.
Well, no, because what I'm saying is the science. They say if you look this up, you're gonna find a lot of science articles that are oh, this is just your brain's way of filling in the gaps and stuff, right? It's not supernatural, but how do they know it's not supernatural? A person from 2,000 years ago and me and a person that lives in China right now could experience the same shadowy figure. How is that? What is that? Right? Ghosts. Okay. I'm saying I think it is some sort of essence.
We're all scared. We're all inherently it's ingrained in our biology to be scared of things that look like us and imitate us, because in the past we had maybe imagine cavemen dealing with uncanny things.
No, I understand that.
That's really cool. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. We have fears built into us.
The thing is, the reason why you're just naturally scared of snakes is because all through time snakes have been a real danger to human beings. You're born and you have a natural fear of snakes, right? Or tigers or spiders, right? Because all through history, those are the things that preyed on us, that hunted us, that killed us. And So like it's just built into our biology to be scared of these things. It is weird. Like I see that, but what about these dark shadowy figures? Like I've never seen a dark shadowy figure in real life. Why am I scared of that? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. Why is it built in? Why is that something that universally all humans, and mind you, I was not like religious or anything. Like I was not into demonic stuff. I never researched anything. Why is this in my mind? Why am I getting harassed by this thing every time I fell asleep? And the same person from across the world is experiencing the same thing with the same figure.
There's like a general, we all fear unknown things.
It's just weird to me. Like I don't understand how all humans can have that. Or not all humans, only 8 to 20% of humans experience it, which is odd too.
So a shadowy figure, right? Like a kind of human-ish shaped figure, like it has like 2 arms. It's like standing up.
It's like a Slender Man shadow. Yeah, like it's fucking weird.
Honestly, I wonder if
it's a woman typically.
I wonder if it taps in though to childhood fears and like maybe it's in our brains somewhere of being a baby and seeing a bunch of figures for the first time. I don't know if babies are scared. You really don't know what they feel.
Maybe that's a good point.
That fear is ingrained.
From the eyes of a baby, everything would look like it's 20 feet tall, and everything would look like Slender Man, like all adults would. All right, I'm gonna share with y'all the worst story I have of sleep paralysis. Now, I told you earlier that I used to get it every time I fell asleep. Literally every time when I was 16, 15. Mind you, this was around the time I was having it was chaotic. My life was chaotic, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. But every time I fell asleep, I experienced it to the point where it was familiar. I just expected it. And there was this one particular time. It was beyond anything I've ever felt before. And till this day, I'm still like baffled by it. So I was living in Florida with my grandmother. And my grandmother, she was a dog breeder. She had a lot of dogs around. There's this one dog named Precious. Okay. It's a Shar-Pei dog. I'm trying to paint this picture for you. The dog's important. So my bedroom so you have the living room, and from the living room there's the kitchen, and beyond the kitchen was the laundry room, and beyond the laundry room was my room. And from the living room you could go directly into the master bedroom as well, which is where my grandmother slept, and my grandfather, who was alive at the time, he slept in there as well. In the middle of the night, I was smoking a lot of weed at this time. So what I would do at night, I would be playing my video game, smoking weed, and I would go through the laundry room into the kitchen, grab something out of the fridge, something to drink, something to eat, snack on. And this particular time, it was the weirdest thing ever. So everything was dark. It was late at night. It was like 11 o'clock at night or whatever. My grandmother was in bed watching TV or whatever with my grandfather. And so I come out, all the lights were off. I come out of my room, go through the laundry room into the kitchen. I go towards the refrigerator, okay? And while I'm doing this, I grab apple juice. I remember it was apple juice because it was so vivid. I mean, it was literally, let's just imagine this wasn't a dream. Let's just imagine this was actually happening, because that's how vivid it was. I was grabbing apple juice out of the fridge. The second I closed the fridge, I heard one of the dogs from the living room, because that's where they slept. It was like shaking, like scared. Like I could hear it like whining, like real quietly. And I was like, huh, that's weird. So I went into the living room. I'm like, Precious, what's wrong? And she was sitting in her dog bed, shaking like she just saw like a literal ghost. Like she was terrified. So I was curious. I walk up to the dog to see if she was okay. And suddenly, like something grabbed, like my body just gets like forced up. Like my arms are up like this. My body, I can't move. I start levitating a few inches off the ground, and I literally can't move any part of my body. And at that moment, I knew that I was having sleep paralysis. But it was the weirdest type of sleep paralysis, because typically when I have it, I'm in my bed and I just can't move, and something creeps into the room, right? I was walking around the house, and I realized that it had something to do with it, but it was so real that it was like confusing. but I was literally in the, like, levitating off the ground. I couldn't move any part of my body, and I just felt like this demonic presence all around me. Well, the only thing I knew how to do, the only thing I could do or could even think of doing, was somehow making my way into my grandmother's room, which was right past the living room. The doorway was open. I could see the flashes from the doorway onto the wall from the television that was on, because they watched TV when they're laying in bed. And I knew I needed to do something, so somehow I forced, with all my, like, all the might that I could, I forced myself to kind of float from the living room towards the doorway, and I somehow got myself into the room, and I'm standing in the doorway of my grandmother's bedroom, and I see my grandfather on his side of the bed with his laptop on his lap, like he usually did, and he was doing whatever on his laptop, and my grandmother was laying on her side looking at the television, which was to my right. So I'm in the doorway, and to my right is the television, and they don't see me. They don't see me at all. So I thought at that time, the only thing I can do to get their attention is to literally force myself in front of the television so that they would see me. So I start forcing myself somehow in front of the television, and I do that. They still don't see me. They're looking right through my body like I don't exist. And then I start to panic, because what if this is going to last forever? Nobody's going to come help me. I can't get out of it. This was terrifying. So I'm floating in front of the television. They're looking directly, or she's looking directly through me. My grandfather's looking at the laptop, and I'm looking at them, hoping that they would see me. And beyond them, in between them both, against the headboard of the bed, I see a face, a head of somebody that's like literally just behind them. And that head at the time was like it looked like a malnourished, like drug addict person who was kind of just like looking like from like a side view like this, and its head was shaking violently like this. And as soon as I saw that, it like terrified me. I just started puking. Like in front of, like while I'm levitating, I'm just puking. I just felt like this insane force, like forcing everything out of me. And I just started throwing up all over the place. And then seconds later, I just wake up. That was the last thing. I wake up out of bed and I'm like, what in the fuck was that? Because it was so livid. I ran into the living room. I saw the dog laying in the bed. My grandparents were in their room. Like everything was set up exactly how it just happened. Like everything was the same except without the demonic presence. And I have never forgot about that. And then years later, this was what was really weird. I remember the face. I drew it on paper, the face that was beyond them, okay? And I drew it on paper, and I remember it vividly. I didn't recognize it at the time, but years later, I got into a lot of trouble. I was doing drugs and hanging out with a lot of bad people, and I started getting arrested a lot. And there was this one particular mugshot that I remember looking at after the fact, after I got out of jail and everything. I was skinny from doing drugs, and I just looked like shit. I looked at the mugshot, and that mugshot, the face in that mugshot looked just like the face I saw in that, whatever that was, dream or whatever you want to call it, that was beyond my grandparents. It was like the same fucking face, dude. But that happened years prior to the mugshot. It was so weird. So yeah, that's my like main personal story of something that I still can't explain to this day. But typically, like the regular sleep paralysis that I would have, I said it earlier in the video, I literally it would be a dark presence, and typically it would always rape me. It was weird. It would always like do something like that to me, like sit on me and like do something, and then I would wake up shortly after.
In probably like 6th grade or something, and I couldn't open my eyes.
Oh, really?
I would just be like,
oh yeah, that's sleep paralysis.
I think that really only happened once that I can remember, but I literally was like,
that's like a minor form of it. You didn't meet the entity?
No, I never actually had sleep paralysis where I...
That is sleep paralysis. Like when you...
I've never had open-eyed sleep paralysis then. I've definitely been... I've definitely seen things only like twice in my life. Seen things, like had one very vivid, memorable dream, and then I literally saw Freddy Krueger climbing up my deck.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw it so clearly. This was also, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, and I saw it very clearly.
Yeah.
It was so scary, and I couldn't move, and I just kind of watched it.
You want to?
It lasted like 1 second.
I
just watched it.
I remember a vivid dream from when I was like 3 or 4 years old. No shit. 2 actually, but this one sticks in my head, and I'm glad you made me remember it. Got out of bed. My parents were sleeping in this room. I got out of bed to go to the kitchen to steal a chocolate pudding at like in the middle of the night while they were sleeping. And mind you, I'm like 4 years old, okay? And I go into the kitchen, I open up the fridge, and as I reach for the pudding, something opens up there's a screen door that led to like the backyard. As I reached for the pudding, the back door would open and an entity would come in. And the closer I got to the pudding, the more it would come in. And the farther I got away from the pudding, it would leave. I shit you not. And guess what the entity was? The fucking giraffe from Toys R Us. I'm not kidding. He would literally come in. The closer I got to the pudding, he would creep into the back door. And it was so fucking terrifying. And and then I just left the pudding. I'm like, fuck that. And I literally ran out of the kitchen and went back to bed.
One of these days, I'm just going to put a pudding cup in the bed.
And then there was another one around that same time, that same age, 4 years old. I remember running to my having a bad dream. I got up out of bed and I ran to my parents' bed, right? And I jumped in bed because I was so terrified. And I slept on the edge of the bed and while they were sleeping. And I remember looking down and I saw the hamburgers from McDonald's commercials. Back in the 90s, there was like literal, like they would have like they would make the hamburgers into like cartoons or whatever. But there was literal hamburgers on the floor with teeth and eyes, and they were like trying to chomp me. And I was like so terrified that I was kicking myself into the center of the bed, and I almost kicked my dad off of the bed. So what causes sleep paralysis? Scientists point to several triggers: stress, sleep deprivation, irregular sleep schedules, and even sleeping on your back. Certain conditions like narcolepsy, anxiety disorders can also increase the likelihood. Genetics may also play a role. Studies show sleep paralysis can run in families, though the exact mechanisms aren't fully understood. Some people say to manage sleep paralysis, first, prioritize sleep hygiene. Stick to a regular sleep schedule, avoid screens before bed, and create a relaxing bedroom environment. If you experience an episode, try focusing on small movements like wiggling your toes to break the paralysis. Me personally, I would always force my body up, like out of the bed. I would force like my arms and I would somehow like or try to fall off the bed, like if I was towards the edge. I would just kind of like force myself awake, and I would literally be while I was waking up, I would be like lunging out of bed. It was so crazy. But that worked for me. Sleep paralysis may feel like a waking nightmare, but it's a puzzle we're trying to solve. By blending science, stories, and solutions, we can take away its power and reclaim the night. If you've experienced sleep paralysis, leave a comment. Let me know. Share your story. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, and let me know in the comments if you have any experiences with sleep paralysis or any crazy dreams. I'll catch you guys on the next video.